Mangwana ni Mwalelepo Vukenja ni Klekwas Vanave Africa. Welcome to Africa Good Morning, the news and current affairs show bringing you everything you need to know happening on the African continent and beyond. You are joined by Ashwin Berry on Wednesday, the 29th of January, as we continue to bring you the very latest. Now, these are some of our top stories today. African Union urges Trump to revisit U.S. exit from WHO. Namibia ranks third in Africa for education but leads in GDP spending. Burkina Faso joins Africa's electric vehicle market with launch of new EV brand. Follow all our programs on oneup2.com, DSTV 285 and GoTV 25 in Namibia, as well as Network Media Hub on YouTube. We'll also be talking to Arrie Hougaard as he brings us the latest news stories from South Africa. This is Africa Good Morning. Top stories shortly.
Welcome to Namibia, where adventure meets tranquility. With Enjoy, you have access to a wide range of accommodations to suit every traveler's taste and budget. Experience the finest dining and hospitality Namibia has to offer. Booking your dream accommodation is just a few clicks away with Enjoy. Join thousands of happy travelers who have trusted Enjoy for their Namibian getaway. Your gateway to unforgettable Namibian adventures. Visit us today at enjoy.my.na.
All right, let's get straight into our top stories. The African Union on January 2025 urged new U.S. President Donald Trump to revisit his decision to withdraw Washington from the World Health Organization. In a statement, African Union Commission Chairperson Mousafaki Mohammed said that as a member of the World Health Body, the U.S. was crucial in shaping global WHO instruments and norms on public health, security, and well-being over the past 7 decades. Upon taking office, January 20, Trump signed an executive order formalizing the U.S. withdrawal from the UN Health Agency. The executive order cited several reasons for the withdrawal, including the WHO's mismanagement of the COVID-19 pandemic and other global health crises, its failure to implement urgently needed reforms, and its lack of independence from undue political influence from member states. Mohammed recalled in a statement that the U.S. was an early and strong supporter of the Africa Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the African Union's Agency for Public Health Emergencies, which works with the WHO to address pandemics. Expressing hope that the U.S. government will reconsider its decision, Mohammed said, "Today, now more than ever, the world depends on WHO to carry out its mandate to ensure global public health security as a shared common good." The WHO, established on April 7, 1948, is an organization of 194 member states. The World Health Body operates in over 150 locations across 6 regions and is responsible for global public health. Africa's reliance on WHO support faces a critical test after Trump withdrew the United States and the considerable funding it contributes from the global body. The WHO gets its funding from member states based on a predetermined basis that differs by country. Now, the U.S. contributes up to 22% of the WHO budget, while Uganda contributes 0.010% and China 15%. The departure of the U.S. could have serious consequences across the African continent, but some senior African health officials have said it could also push African nations to take greater control of their own health systems. And this is how the narrative has actually been, particularly on social media. A lot of African countries are looking at their governments saying, as much as we understand the rashness or irrationality of Donald Trump's decision, why were we not prepared? Why have we not set up these systems ourselves? So let's see how all of that transpires. Now we move to the land of the brave, Namibia, which has been recognized as a leader in education on the continent, ranking ranking third in Africa, according to Mo Ibrahim Foundation's Financing Africa report. The country also achieved the top global position for education expenditure as a percentage of gross domestic product. Now, the report highlighted the challenges African nations face in meeting education spending targets, particularly in light of COVID-19. Admittedly, even before the COVID-19 pandemic, few African countries were meeting spending targets, whether in terms of the seizure of the economy, of the budget, total spending, or of spending per capita, the report stated. Between 2017 and 2019, only 12 of the 52 countries with available data achieved at least one of the Incheon Declaration spending targets, according to UNICEF. Additionally, education spending per capita on the continent fell by 8% in 2020 during the pandemic and has yet to recover. Tunisia topped the education rankings, followed by Ghana, Namibia, Mauritius, and Togo. South Africa, often viewed as an education hub in the region, came in 8th, while Zimbabwe, known for its education legacy, failed to secure a spot in the top 10. Despite its achievements in education, Namibia has been flagged for poor performance in implementing the African Union's Agenda 2063. The country has achieved only 28% of the goals set under the initiative, according to the first assessment report by the new Partnership for Africa's Development presented at the February 2024 AU Summit. Namibia is among 11 nations with an implementation rate of 30% or less, alongside Botswana 29% and Zambia 27%. These countries collectively represent 9.4% of Africa's population. On the other hand, Rwanda leads the continent with a 64% implementation rate, followed by Ethiopia and Senegal, both at 63%. The report noted that only 5 countries, Rwanda, Ethiopia, Senegal, Zimbabwe, and Togo, achieved implementation rates of 60% or higher for the first decade of Agenda 2063. That's quite an interesting subject, because if you're on the ground in Namibia, you hear there are varying opinions with regards to education. So I'd love to hear what you feel about this, Namibians. To make sure you get into the comment sections of this show, Network Media Hub on YouTube, and let us know what you think about the education system and Namibia being ranked third in Africa. Kenya's President William Ruto described the situation in the Democratic Republic of Congo as very complicated and said it could only be solved diplomatically. We do not see, from where I sit, a possibility of a military solution to the challenges that face the Eastern DRC, he told reporters during a briefing. It was, it is, and I'm sure it will continue to be the case that engagement, dialogue, and consultations are the only viable way out of the situation in the DRC. His comments came as Rwanda-backed M23 rebels claimed to have captured Congo's largest city, Goma, as fighting escalated despite calls from the UN Security Council for the insurgents to withdraw. Gunshots rang out across Goma overnight before dozens of rebels in military uniform early Monday morning marched into the capital of North Kivu province, which sits on the border with Rwanda. Now, the volatile region is rich in minerals that are critical to much of the world's technology. Kinshasa said the rebel advance amounted to a declaration of war. Amid the escalating conflict, Ruto, who is also chairman of the East African Community, said he was called into an emergency meeting for member states, which is going to be taking place today. Now, the South African government of national unity remains under pressure as the DA accuses President Cyril Ramaphosa of making unilateral decisions. We'll be talking to Arrie Hougaard about that story and more stemming from South Africa. Stay with us. All right, it's time for us to talk to Arrie Hougaard about the stories stemming from South Africa. Good morning, Arrie. How are you?
Yes, a very good morning, Ashwin. Yes, excellent. Nice to talk to you this morning.
Died in Mozambique, and some of the publications are saying that they did not have the sufficient ammunition. They weren't well equipped. Several of them have died. I saw some comments from Julius Balema. Have you gotten wind of this conversation?
Yes, it's been going on late yesterday. It intensified a little bit, more reports this morning. And one of the comments I also saw is there's a lack of air support, especially. So that is a difficult situation for the government. One report this morning that quoted President Ramaphosa, that he said that it is not in his own decision for them to get out of that situation. They need to take the Southern African Development Community bloc also into consideration. They need to make a call together. But he did speak to Rwandan president apparently over the phone yesterday as well. So it is a difficult one. But I do think that the president of the country do have the power to say, listen, we're not comfortable in what's happening.
Yes.
So maybe he must definitely be stronger there.
Without a doubt. I mean, I see the SADC Troika are going to be meeting to try and see how they can address that situation. Another update that happened just before the show, Arrie, we're just going to pin this for our audience, if it's okay, a digital pin, if you will. Duduzile Zuma, Jacob Zuma's daughter, is set to be charged under the Terrorism Act with regards to those riots in 2021.
In South Africa, and obviously the riots had a big impact on South Africa a few years ago, and that's a big claim against her, unfortunately. But the Terrorism Act is according to some sources, there's enough evidence for her to be trialed. So we'll see how that plays out in court. Yes. Obviously, she's got the right to be trialed first.
All right. Now let's get into the meat of the day. The South African Government of National Unity remains under pressure as the DA accuses President Cyril Ramaphosa of making unilateral decisions. I'm assuming this is with regards to the Bella Act and the expropriation bill.
Indeed, Ashwin, the expropriation bill and the Bella bill and the DA, I think it will be like this continuously. You need to have discussions and sometimes one party is not happy on the outcome. But the DA say that they're treating, the government treating other parties of the GNU with the contempt and making unilateral decisions. So just meaning that they need to be included a bit more. A lot more, they say. The ANC did say that this discussion come back way before the GNU was formed, so it comes quite a while. It's just put into action now. The IFP also said that they raised concern that there's a lack of consultation, so it's not only the DA saying that, but the reality at the moment is that Fikile Mbalula, he's the ANC Secretary General, he made a big statement yesterday. He said that the ANC will be waiting for nobody. So it's a strong statement. He said that everybody must just understand that all the implementation will be made under the law, within the law. So it's not, it won't be an invasion. So that is a strong statement, but he is very serious that the process must continue. So President Ramaphosa and Mr. Steenhuisen did meet yesterday. He's got lots of other stuff also to think of, but hopefully they will find each other in discussions as well.
Very interesting, you know, Fikile Mbalula always arrives with the quotables. When he was actually asked about the SANDF in Mozambique, he said they're not there to fight a war, they went there to maintain peace. Not sure how you do that as a soldier. Let's move forward. Transnet plans to break the dependency on Chinese locomotive spares by bringing locally made locomotives onto coal mine transport operations.
Yes, that's good news for South Africa, and I like that. It's South Africa saying, listen, we're taking back the authority of the situation. We can't be held hostage by the Chinese company. It's called the Railway Rolling Stock Company of China, and they couldn't supply all the parts needed for those locomotives. So now the answer is called the Alstom 23ES. So that's a big name. South African manufacturer. There's already 18 of them running. They want 90 of them on that Northern Corridor line, a very important corridor line for coal. It goes all the way to Richards Bay. At the moment, 52 million tons being handled annually in that harbour. So it's up 10% from the previous year. It can go up to previous figures of 56 million tons that it was in 2017. So in the next 15 months, the report is that the other locomotives will join the system, and it will be up to 90 locomotives on that line. So well done to them taking the initiative and saying we can do it on our own.
Absolutely. Especially in Africa, the more we can produce on our own, the more we can get the best out of these resources. Now, the Department of Basic Education confirmed a partnership agreement with mobile telecommunications company MTN in the effort to foster digital literacy. Tell us more.
Yes, it's an important partnership, Ashwin, and it's especially in rural areas and under-resourced areas. And the MTN is making a big impact there. Obviously, the power of technology in education is very important, and many of the children in schools don't have access to that. So there's an example. That is learning centers, online schools that is put up. There's 400 multimedia centers. One of them, they're in action, 400 multimedia centers that MTN helped to put up. So it makes a big difference. People or children have access to computers and online, and that's the world we live in now. So they need to be educated in that line as well. So it's good to see they help with tools and resources, and it is a big focus in the rural areas where the need is massive. So also well done to MTN in stepping up in that.
Yes, without a doubt. And, you know, in one of our top stories, we were looking at how African countries are currently ranked with regards to education. And I think it's innovations like that that could help South Africa climb up the rankings. Now, Arrie, in your next story, in spite of my wife's efforts, JSE-listed retailer Woolworths reported weaker than expected performances.
Yes, it is an interesting story because it reflects probably on the whole market at the moment. Food products went up, so that's quite strong, but apparel is not as strong. And then also the link with Woolworths in the Australian companies that did not do too well. But the online is doing a lot better in South Africa. So it's up 71% so online, it is called the Dash. Online Dash is the Woolworths theme. That's very popular in South Africa at the moment, but it's still only 6.4% of the food sales are online for Woolworths. So that is, the online is a big component. But the stock did have challenges, or there's an online package there, but the stock did fell in the JSE trading, down 3% yesterday to 56 Rand 70. But that is most of the other retailers have a similar flow at the moment. Online is coming in a bit stronger. Food is also in big need, but it is more the fashion and beauty and home that's taking a bit of a step back, especially early in the year. I think people have had their Christmas and now they need food on the table.
All right, Arrie, all right, we'll certainly be keeping an eye on how that goes. Like I said, my wife will certainly do her best to make sure that Woolworths performs financially as well as it can. Speaking of performance, I see we are in the same AFCON group: South Africa, Angola, Zimbabwe. Are you excited for that one? And Egypt. I don't like that part.
Yes, Egypt is a difficult one. It is a Group B. Yes, for sure. It's exciting. The Southern African teams together. Morocco also in a strong group. They're the host. They play against the Comores in their first game. It's late December. It's in December 2025 that it will start, goes into 2026. But there will be Southern African rivalry. There will be one game at least somewhere, Ashwin, where Zimbabwe and South Africa play crucial games.
Yeah, that's also known as the only game I want to win.
Yes, absolutely. Tough tournament to win. South Africa to have a chance. The women showed that it can be done, but difficult to beat Egypt, for instance, and also Morocco will be tough to beat. That done.
Without a doubt. Thank you very much, Arrie, for bringing us the news stories from South Africa.
All the best, Ashwin. Yes, great talking. Bye-bye.
All right, let's have a look at the weather predictions before some economic news. Now, in our economic news update, recently Burkina Faso's homegrown electric vehicle Itaqua entered the market, further boosting the continent's EV landscape. According to its manufacturer, the ITAOUA, I think that's actually Itaqua EV, boasts impressive features with a range of 330 kilometers on a single charge that can be achieved in just 30 minutes. This remarkable efficiency positions the ITAOUA as a strong contender in Africa's rapidly evolving electric mobility market. We will certainly be keeping an eye on Burkina Faso with regards to that technological development. Let's have a look at the indicators before Arrie swings back on the sport desk.
Good day, everyone. Time for international sports news, and starting off with football news first, and it's a transfer spending in the English Premier League that is higher than the previous year. At the moment, for the January transfer, it stands at 247 million euro, and last year, this time, it was 90 million euro. And it is Manchester City that's responsible for most of the spending. They're the defending champions, and they're struggling to defend their title for this season. Coach Pep Guardiola made 3 big signings. The signings that Pep Guardiola made is Omar Marmouch. He's from Eintracht Frankfurt. He's a forward, and he will join Manchester City now immediately for 89 million euro. And then also Victor Rees. He's from Palmeiras. He's a defender, and they paid 29 million euro for him. And then Abdulkar Kusanov. He's from Lens. He is a centre back, and they paid 33.6 million euro for him. That is Manchester City. Manchester City at the moment in the January transfer have spent just on their own more money than all the other 19 clubs collectively together. So the acquisition is for them to attempt to defend their title in the 2024-2025 season. On to rugby news. It is the Europe's best rugby teams, the Six Nations, that will start this coming weekend. 3 big games. It is France that play on against Wales. That's on Friday, and then Scotland to host Italy, that is Saturday, and then a big game, Ireland hosting England, also on Saturday. Team news from England is that Alex Mitchell, he's a scrum half, he's fit to play against Ireland. He had a knee injury, but he will be able to play. It is England that struggled with quite a few injuries. Also out with injuries confirmed is hooker Jamie George, and then also Alex Coles, and also Alex Dombrad, some of the players that England won't have for Saturday's game in the Aviva Stadium in Dublin. Then for Friday's game, it's a tough game for Wales. They travel all the way to Paris against France, and it is France that made an acquisition to the coaching. It is the former prop, that is Adam Jones. He will assist Warren Gatland in the coaching, so Adam Jones will be the forward and the scrum coach for Wales in this coming Six Nations. To close off today's international sports news, it is cricket news. It is the West Indies that won their first test in Pakistan in 34 years, and they played in Multan. It was the second test, and the West Indies won that game by 120 runs. It was after Pakistan was bowled out for 133 in their second innings, and the best bowler there for West Indies was Jumal Warrikan. He took 9 wickets for 70 runs in the match. Together, he took 5 wickets in the second innings. So a great performance by the West Indies winning by 120 runs. That's the
DSTV 285, GoTV 25, OneUp2.com, and Network Media Hub on YouTube is precisely where you can find us. Swela Jaganaka.